Yeah. Okay. Good.
Hey everyone, welcome to my final VWG episode for now. I have organist Johnny Selimović, who's known as Johnny Music on YouTube.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, let's get this started, shall we?
For sure. Let's get it on. Let's get to it.
Yeah, you're an organ player. What got you into organ in the first place? In the organ in the first place, I mean.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. Uh, I do know how it originally started. It was when I was very young, as a toddler. There was this there was this Christian oratorio based in Australia called the Jerusalem Passion. The specifically the organist in general did a tremendous job with the recording, and I'm specifically referring to the 1987 performance. By the way, that was the one I grew up with because they performed several other times, but the 1987 recording in uh in the Brisbane Concert Hall, that's where it was recorded at, and that's the recording that I watched many times when I was very young, and for good reason. I fell in love with the music of that, and especially the organ solos. I basically fell in love with the organ, especially with the way the organ was performed during those concerts, and especially those two solos. And I like them so much that I even have the sheet music for those solos and practice them whenever I can even make the time for it. So, and it also inspired my interest in video production as well. So it's the best. It basically killed two birds with one stone there, in a sense.
Wow.
Mhm.
So, what are the pros and cons about working with the virtual organ you software rather than a physical organ system? Dun
Mhm.
dun dun.
Yes, for that. How do I? Okay. The thing is, when it comes to my organ covers, it's impossible for me to physically perform every single one of them because of how much I produce. So the best way for me to get through all of that is by using music production software, including virtual organ instruments via software, and that's how I'm able to get a lot produced much in a much quicker pace than normal, because if you want to like perform those pieces perfectly, you'll need to like put in like tons of practice, and I don't have time for that. So yeah, the method I've been using for 8 years has been the music production route. And now, to answer your question, now that I've given you the context, um, the pros and cons. Well, the pros, for one, it gives you some more creative freedom with experimentation with the virtual side of things, even though you can kind of do the same thing on the physical or hardware side of things. with with the software side, though, with the software or virtual side, you do get a controlled environment for you to explore the different sounds that you have within your room, so you don't get uh in case any of you introverts out there who want to get into music production don't want to get too embarrassed by like doing live experiments via live stream. You can easily do that privately with virtual instruments without a hitch, and that would be one of the pros, and several other. I'm trying to think of what other pros are there aside from experimentation that you can easily do from home. What else is there? Creative freedom. I mentioned that already. What else? I'm trying to remember what else is there. There has to be a lot. And of course, there are several different virtual instruments you can get your hands on for whatever music production project that you want to work on. Yeah, there's lots of yeah, you basically have many different virtual instruments, including virtual pipe organs, basically right at no, I can't do that with my mouse. I was trying to bring up my mouse to show that you have it like right at your fingertips, the amount of virtual instruments that you have creative freedom with for whatever music production project you have in mind. Yes, and as for the cons, well, for one, sometimes depending on how one of the cons I can think of right away is, for example, some virtual instruments that you would want to work with may require you to have more computing power. That's why the workstation that I'm currently using right now to talk to you with, it is a gaming workstation with a gaming grade GPU in there, and also a pretty decently powerful desktop AMD Ryzen CPU for the rest of the computer tech geeks who can understand what I'm talking about. And specifically Ryzen 7, Ryzen, yeah, 5800 series CPU and whatnot. I think I've already mentioned some of those specs on one of the other websites, but enough tech jargon. What else? Well, yeah, powerful. Yeah, in some cases, as I said before, some virtual instruments may require you to have some decently powerful computing software to make it work properly, as I said before, which my computer is already very adequate for that, and with some more room to upgrade if I need to. What else? Oh, another thing too, this may be a pro or a con depending on your experience with this. But if you already had some experience with audio engineering, especially audio mastering and the such, shoot, I don't even know if that would count as a pro or con, but well, actually, no, I remember now. Yeah, the con would be there would be some sort of a learning curve with knowing how to use virtual instruments in the best way possible. That would be, in some way, to some people, that can be seen as a con. But if those of you, including myself, who are willing to who have a continuous learning mindset, it's it can be done. It can be done to go through the learning curve of learning new things and the such. And I, for one, actually, no, I'll probably mention it later depending on what your questions are. But I think that's pretty much it to answer that question there. Did I go too long there
No, no,
for
no.
you?
It reminds me of school.
Okay. Oh boy.
No,
All
no,
right then.
you're good. You're good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Which organists have inspired you?
Okay, now that's a good one there too. A few that I have in mind. The organist in the original in that original 1987 recorded performance from the Jerusalem Passion. I forgot what her name was, but she, though I believe she would be one of the inspirations performance for performance technique. Yeah, and a few others I can come up with. There is, of course, the one of the classical organists, or more specifically in the Baroque era of music, J.S. Bach, which is he is known as the father of modern music, even though he was born in the late 17th century. But he's still inspired he still inspired the music that we listen to today. He's left a really big legacy, J.S. Bach, and a few others in mind. Cameron Carpenter is also one of them. He may, I'm saying this with a bit of caution because he can be a bit of a controversial figure to some of them, but he, for me, I find him to be an inspiring guy for the way he's, how do I put this? The way that he's making the way how he's doing his part to make the pipe organ much getting it more mainstream in a way with the way he does his performances, and he seems to be a pretty cool guy as well. I'd love to meet him in person one day. And also another recent one that I happen to have made friends with um, about 6 years ago. We're still good friends to this day. I really enjoy his performances. I'm talking about Rob Lubinsky. He's also known as the Organist. And it was very interesting how both of us met, and how we're still friends how we're still friends today, doing collaborations from time to time. And that's all I can think of. I almost forgot one more. One more who also inspired me to start the organ arrangements, the organ covers and arrangements I produce, is Chelsea Chen. Yeah, one of her performances, specifically the Super Mario Fantasia, that uh that basically sparked that was one of the sparks that got me into the work that I do right now. And I actually got the chance to meet her in person 2 months ago in early July for uh, for a convention held by the RCCO, which stands for the Royal Canadian College of Organists, and which is also joined by the Organ Historical Society. Both of them joined together to create this convention called a Festival of Pipes, and Chelsea Chen happened to be one of the performers, and I got the chance to finally meet her and get in touch with her, and she was just as pleasant as I thought she would be, and such. And that's all I can think of for now.
Any more last minute ones?
That for now, that's all.
Okay. Your main focus is organs, but are you interested in anything else other than the organ?
Hmm. While it is fair to say that the pipe organ is an obsession of mine, that is fair to say that it is an obsession of mine. I've been obsessed with it since I was very young. That comes with being on the autism spectrum, having a
Oh,
having a focus, having something that you're very obsessed about, having a specific interest that you're obsessed about. That's fair, though there are also a lot of other things that I do have interests on. Some things I can come up with. I do like to play video games from time to time, though I have been cutting back on playing video games in the past years to focus on work, and also my music production career. And what else aside from video games that I like to play? I even had to, even as of today, I've been on a Twitch streaming hiatus for over a year because I wanted to prioritize the things that I needed to do, and also get some things sorted out in order to get back into it eventually. But I don't even know yet. Some of my Twitch followers probably would be watching this, and and I understand it has been a while, but I don't know when I'll get back into streaming. But you guys will be the first to you guys will be the first to know, hearing from me when I will resume Twitch streaming in the future. And there's also some other things too. I also do like to watch movies and TV shows as well. I'm also, in that regard, I have really liked cartoons ever since I was very young, especially 2D animated cartoons. Like, I'm an enthusiast for 2D animation. And even though I do have some respect for 3D animation when it's done well, uh, yeah, there's just a lot that I'm into, that I could go on and on and on about this. If you could like maybe help like narrow down the question a little bit, that would help. But other than that, actually no, one more. I almost forgot another thing. As I said before, I have like lots of things that I'm into, and sometimes I do like to go on when it comes to physical activities. Yeah, there's some good amount that I like to do. Sometimes I like to go on walks, trail walking. I love to go trail walking as often as I possibly can, even though The problem is where I currently live at, they're not. I would have to drive to some trails just to go trail walking, and that's a little bit annoying on
Mm,
that regard. Though I also do happen to love to go swimming from time to time. Yep.
yes.
Yeah, I love to swim, go swimming, and even go to water parks as well. That's one of my favorite
Mhm.
places to go to. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say for now to not extend this too much. As I said, I could go on and on and on about this.
I bet.
Yep.
You have this podcast called Organ Mavericks Podcast. What are some of the topics about the podcast?
Yes, about the podcast. That's what Rob Lubinsky, aka Jensen Organist, and I have been hosting on using the podcast streaming service called Simplecast. That's what we've been using. On that, we've I didn't quite remember all the episodes we have, so I have it up here on my computer so I can share with you some topics that we talked about. One of the episodes was changing the face of organ music and culture, learning to play the organs, saying a few examples, and we even did a few mini series of the fitness and health, how it relates to the organ. And we even did another mini series called Organ Mavericks in History, citing
Ooh.
specific organists that we personally thought were considered mavericks in the organ world, and Cameron Carpenter happens to be one of the organ mavericks on our books, and that's the episode that we've stopped at in the meantime. Yeah, the organ mavericks in history, Cameron Carpenter. That was our last episode in that podcast, and as of right now, the podcast is put on hold indefinitely. We don't know when we'll ever make more episodes. Maybe it just comes to show how many more people will actually, listen to the podcast to see if there will be more interest in it. But as of right now, we don't see any point in making more episodes for the podcast at this point. But anything can happen in the future. We don't know yet. But yeah, there's yeah, we made plenty of episodes for that podcast, and I was only named a few examples of what we discussed.
Hmm, not bad, not bad.
Hmm.
Lastly, have you performed anywhere around the world or have you performed here in Canada?
That's a good question. I can say as of right now that I mainly only performed locally, specifically when I used to be a church organist, that would count as local. And also there were a few times when I did some performances at a few other churches, which were like very minor performances, like for a few songs and the such. That's just yeah, it was done locally. One day in the future, I would love to get back into performing. I would love to get back into performing, though. For one, getting your own practice instrument can be a really expensive endeavor. And would it be all right if I plug in something?
Okay, sure.
Okay, yeah. So I meant to say this to my subscribers on my music channel, but I guess I'll also say it now for those of you who are watching this interview and really enjoyed my music and would love to contribute further than just watching my videos, sharing them, and engaging in the comments section. If you want to help even further, I would immensely appreciate it if you check out my wish list on my Buy Me a Coffee page. You will see specifically what that wish list is, which is part one of a practice organ setup that I want to get so I can finally get back into into the practicing routine into the practicing routine and get back into doing doing performances locally and even doing concerts, recitals, and even touring in the future. But in order to do that, I need a way to practice, and going to like different churches around me, that's too much work for me personally, and I don't want to deal with that. And that's why I've set up this wish list for you guys to help out with that. It would be immensely appreciated.
I'll put that link down in the description for everyone.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful. Thank you, Graham.
No problem. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Johnny.
Yeah, you're welcome, Graham. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, yes, for sure.